everybody, it's Seth, Amped Electric Games. I'm here with one of my favorite riders in the world, Kelly Chameleon. Kelly happens to be one of our VIP riders. Not really sure which category she falls into because she's really good at everything that I've seen her do on an EUC. You chose Cathedral Park here in Portland. Does this park have some significance to you?
It's a really cool park. I have ridden around here a lot and finally got the nerves to actually ride across this bridge. It's one of the major bridges that gets across the Willamette.
So Kelly, electric unicycles, how did you get started on them?
Before I was in the electric unicycle PEV community, I was and still am part of the flow arts, circus, fire spinning community. A few people found electric unicycles. They're similar to unicycles, so they were clearly drawn to them. And they started bringing them around and performing with them, juggling with them. So that was how I was introduced to the electric unicycle. People tend to ride they were riding all the smaller ones, especially because they've had them since 2015 or so, when it all was 14 and 16-inch wheel.
Oh, like the 14D.
14D, the 16S, the V5F, the V8.
Lighter, skinny tires, so you can do this.
Yep, do the little spins. They're all pretty small, pretty low speeds, no pads or anything crazy. So that was how I was introduced to the electric unicycle. Then it all just kind of went from there.
I feel like every time I turn on Instagram, you're doing something else. Like I'll see you doing jumps one day, and then you're doing flow style the next day, and then the next day you're racing. I think you just won in Shredfest, didn't you?
I did. I won the women's division. So downhill race. It was my first win for a downhill. Second downhill race yet. So it was cool to be able to have a women's division and be able to race against Maribel, who's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I met all of the team from Alien Rides. They seem like great folks. We all rode together. We had the little jump going in over the middle
Yeah.
camp there for a while. That was fun. How many female riders were there in that class? Or was it just...
It was just the two of us at that race. At Apple Valley, there were 5 of us. At the last race that we did at Burning Flux, there was just 2 of us, Grace and myself, but we all raced together. It was I think 6 riders total, 2 female, 2 male, or 4 male. But I'm really excited for Amped Electric Games because there's going to be a lot more women coming out to race. A lot of the NYC crew and Liv from Arizona, a few people from other places within the South and Midwest that are coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm excited that I think we're going to have a pretty good women's division there.
I think it's going to be awesome. I'm thinking right now about how to classify these devices.
I've always thought that it would be nice to have a 84 volt class, or maybe even, I don't even know if you can really classify it based on voltage as much as maybe wheel size.
Yeah.
Although the V12 kind of throws a wrench in that. But intuitively we can sort of group the V8 and the 16S and, those kind of wheels together. And then there's the 18XL, the V11.
MSX,
I think
right?
the MSX. Yeah, I think you could go off of what the wheel's top speed is, because there's a handful of wheels that their top speed's around 31 to 34. You got the 18XL, the V11, the S18. All of those are kind of similar.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who ride those wheels who I'm sure would like to race, but
Right.
I wouldn't. If I only had an S18, I probably wouldn't, sign up to race against people with a Master.
Yeah, and another way that I've heard of doing it also is to have qualifications.
Having time trials at the beginning is probably going to be a really good way to see just where everything sits and, where people are at in relation to each other and where the wheels are in relation to each other.
I know that you're good at all sorts of different riding styles. What would you say is your favorite or your strong point?
I definitely like off-road, the dirt jumps. That's the one place that I feel like I want to progress more and that I feel like I just enjoy the most, getting air and jumping and finding different trails. Yeah, definitely.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of like you, though. I like all styles of riding and watching Rennie and how he flips and does shove-its and stuff. That's why I bought my 14D, actually. Watching Mike and the stuff that he was doing, he really influenced me to start jumping. And so I draw my influences from you guys. Where do you draw your influences from?
From so many people that I've followed or watched for a long time. Side Street Rennie is a huge inspiration. Chapeau Row, also really awesome. Monsieur Flex, who's also out in France, he was definitely a big inspiration for long distance rides and also doing like little tricks and stuff. And then, of course, Mike, should be time,
Yeah.
inspiration for the jumps. So,
Yeah.
I kind of pull my inspiration from everywhere, and I kind of like all the different styles of riding and pulling them all in.
Now, did you do other board sports or like BMX or anything before you started riding at UCs?
No, not really.
Okay.
I did I did a little bit of snowboarding as a kid, some rollerblading, just like different things. I never got really very good at any of them. I enjoyed them, but I wasn't very consistent. I didn't feel the spark
Right.
for any of
right.
them long term. And yeah, finding the wheel, I just couldn't stop.
Yeah, and it's funny because I hear that from a lot of people. Like, I bought my MSX and I put over 1,000 miles on it in the first month. I felt like just it was a freedom that I had never felt before. What would you say? What drives you? Why do you put your gear on and get on the wheel every day?
I just love it. The freedom of, riding and feeling it, exploring new places. I feel like I've, learned so much more about my city, and I just go out and ride and try to find new places to ride, try to find new routes. When I go to other cities, meeting up with people and going on group rides, it's the best way to tour a new city. I feel like I see so much more than you could in a car or on foot or really in any other way.
Yeah, yeah.
You can just cover so much ground. And just, the community of having a group of people to hit up and hang out with and meet up with in all these different places. There's just so many different aspects to it that, initially got me really into it. And that was even before any of the more extreme stuff like the jumping and
Right,
everything,
right.
just riding with friends was, the best. I think a big thing for me was I started riding in 2019, and when COVID and lockdown hit, it was really one of the only ways that I was going to get out of the house. It was I could hang out with like my friends because we were outside, we were masked because we were like, had our bandanas on anyway,
Right.
when you're riding. And, it was just, I didn't ever feel like I was super cooped up because I always had this like afternoon ride that I would go do every day.
Yeah.
And it really like got me through that whole summer of 2020.
Yeah, it was almost like an escape hatch for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, yeah, you turn on the news, it was like all this doom and gloom. And then I'm like, I'm just get on my wheel and go.
And not to mention all the streets and traffic was closed down. So we could just go anywhere we wanted. And now that everything is starting to open back up, I'm like, oh, I can't ride here anymore. I have to find a new place because there's actually cars that use this street. Dang it.
Right, right.
But yeah, especially during the beginning of lockdown, being able to go ride around when everything was just completely dead was so cool. It felt like, super like we owned the city, just
Yeah.
riding around wherever we wanted.
Speaking of going to different cities and exploring, I was on a group ride in a major metropolitan area, and they had left the side door open to the baseball stadium. So we were riding inside of this baseball stadium, and everything was all blacked out. Somebody had a Nikola, and it had
Oh,
like
that's
the art.
cool. Yeah.
They were just dancing off the ceilings and the walls.
Right.
It's just, the feeling, it's almost indescribable how I feel when you almost have to experience it. There's just something about group rides and riding with people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fun to get together and ride around, and you go pick these routes and you go places, and it's really just for the sake of riding. There's not really like you're not just trying to get from point A to point B. You're exploring, and people got music, and there's different things, especially when you have like the different PEVs and different things happening. It's just fun, and it's always a little exciting. You never know what's going to happen. People doing wheelies or just things. It's just exciting. We did a group ride in Vegas for Eastgate Con, and riding down the strip in a group of like 60 people it was absolute chaos, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
Probably should have stayed a little bit tighter together, but
Yeah, I saw some video of you at Lake Cunningham, I think.
yeah.
Did you hit that with the UC girl?
Yeah, we went and rode with her, and she's amazing, super inspiring to watch. when we went and rode with her at Lake Cunningham, she was hitting the medium line on these big BMX jumps. And, she was working her way up. She was finishing almost all of them, but then kind of casing the last couple or turning off. And then a week later, I see her completing the next line, like the next bigger one next to it. So the rate at which she is progressing is super impressive. I'm really excited to see what she does. If anyone's going to start doing 360s and, different sort of like motocross inspired tricks, it's going to be her. She's progressing so fast. So it's exciting to watch.
Yeah, it is. I loved Lake Cunningham. I thought that place was awesome. Even when I go to the bike park, I start small and kind of I like to get a feel for how my wheel feels. Do you have a pre-jump routine that you use or some visualization that you go through?
I like to stretch and like kind of get warmed up, do some things to get my like knees and hips limber, some squats and stuff just to get, everything warmed up. And then, yeah, sometimes it takes me a minute to work up the nerve to hit certain jumps. And I'm glad that my friends are patient with me. Sometimes I need we'll go up to it and come back and go up and come back. But really just visualizing myself hitting the jump goes a long way. And if I can't see myself doing something in my head, I don't usually try it. Or if I'm visualizing it and I just see myself crashing, that's usually when I take a step back and I say, nope, not today. And having that boundary I think is good, but also practicing visualizing what it's going to look like and doing it successfully really helps me get in the right headspace and get like psyched up to actually try new things.
Yeah, I can understand that, because if you hit the jump 100 times in your head, when you're just going to go hit it another time, it doesn't seem so bad.
No, yeah, it's like
100 times.
you're like, this is easy. I got this.
Being able to progressively hit those larger and larger lines and larger jumps, it's given me a lot of confidence, and I think it's kind of spilled over into other areas of my life as well. Would you say that EUCs have had a positive effect on your life?
Oh, absolutely. Feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of succeeding in that adrenaline, of like hitting jumps and doing, the stunts and stuff has been awesome. And then also just the effect of, getting outside and being around friends and having such a large community that is around and everybody's so supportive. So that has definitely been a huge plus for my life. It's been great.
So I mentioned earlier that I follow your Instagram, and I know you have a lot of followers, and I imagine you get recognized quite a bit. How is it being famous or in the
world? Yeah, it's funny because it's like I wouldn't refer to myself as famous. I don't like get recognized outside of the EUC world, which is good. I don't really know if I want that. But when I do come to events or group rides, I meet a lot of people who are who say they've seen my YouTube channel or they've seen my Instagram. I really appreciate it when people have something that they felt inspired by, or some people who have shared like, I used to ride e-bike and I got an EUC because I saw your videos, and that feels really good to inspire people. It feels good to know that I've had sort of like an impact on people to where they wanted to start doing something that they maybe hadn't tried before. And that's really like why I love doing it and why I love sharing what I do, is, especially to get other women involved and other women inspired to ride and to get into this. Because when I first started riding, there really weren't very many girls coming on group rides. I didn't see very many girls posting about riding online. I loved it so much that I wanted to get more women inspired to ride. And I think that has happened. And now there's a lot more girls who are posting about riding, who are coming out to group rides, who are teaching their friends, getting their friends involved. And I'm just seeing it build, and it feels really good to like have that support and see the sport growing, especially with other women getting involved.
Yeah, I think that you had a pivotal role in that. So I have to say thank you.
Hope so. And I hope it continues in that direction too.
I feel like we could do better as a community to be more welcoming of women riders. And I try to call people out because that's what you need to do. If you see somebody say something, call them out. Like
Yeah.
it's
There's
good.
definitely like some, people in any niche or community across the board of people who are just disrespectful towards people. It's good to have the support and, to feel like people are encouraging of women in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're getting a little bit of rain.
Yeah, I think we're doing all right. All right, I think that maybe we'll just wrap up.
Yeah, welcome to Portland.
Starting to rain a little bit. So Kelly, I know that you've got a lot of support. Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to as far as your sponsors or anybody?
I want to give a shout out to Rev Rides. They have really helped me out with parts and wheels and been super supportive. They're really helping push the sport forward and support us as riders. Clark Pads, I love the Clark pedals. He's been super awesome about getting us the accessories that we need. Alien Rides, also really awesome down in the Bay. They have a really amazing crew. Shout out to Flux Movement, one of my awesome sponsors. We have our racing team with Flux, so definitely check out Flux Movement, and they've got some really cool LED group ride accessories that they're working on.